Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a very quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D, Rose Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fibre Oats, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to... Oh, I missed Life is Short. Sorry, scrolling down, missed your name. So a massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
You do it in the middle of the air. It's getting annoying, this freaking constant same thing, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, well, if they don't like the word ground, change that word for surface.
Just say geographical position. That's even more technical.
Yeah, ground position, you know, the ground position is on the surface. That's what it matters. It's from the surface that we're getting the elevations from. And the pressure.
When I see I'm sorry. Somebody said the other day, you hold your arm out, and that's your baseline. You know, which like they're trying to say that's going to be your bottom line, the straight line that your arm's making.
Hold on. All right, fine. In reference to what? Even
Talking
if you
about
get an
that
artificial
baseline.
horizon, hold on. Even if you get an artificial horizon, it's still referencing the ground. You're navigating on the ground, the ocean. Hello?
I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm just
Nice to meet you, Neil, by the way.
Yeah, I prefer
maybe
the
Nathan,
word
when he's ready,
surface,
to
to
bring some
navigate the
clarity to
surface.
why people fighting against this.
Well, I don't need to bring any clarity. You're getting annoyed because people deny that a ground position's the ground. That's not... I don't concern myself with that in the slightest, Neil.
No, but I'm saying, what are they not? Because Sleeper Warrior is not a moron. He's a smart guy. What is he not connecting? Because he wasn't trolling. He's just not understanding it.
I don't know. I can't speak for Sleeping Warrior if he doesn't understand the arguments yet. It's been gone a while. We've been privy to, what, a year and a half of 10th Man going through it as he learnt it and bought all these books about it and detailed it and provided us citations and went through them with us, pointing out the relevant sections. We've been very privileged. Anthony's not had any of that. So Anthony's general way is to brace against something so that you go out of your way to convince him with what is the strongest argument. Now, in order for him to pull out the strongest argument, what he tends to do is stand in opposition to it, offer any counter-argument that he can provide to try and disagree with it. And it doesn't matter if the counter-argument's right or wrong, he's just getting you to stop pulling your punches because you're on his side and give it to him in the most concise and correct way possible to overcome any objection that he may have gleaned outside of this argument. That's just how Anthony operates. Bearing in mind he's had legal training, so all he wants to hear is, what's the counter punch that I've got to deal with? What have I got to do? What have I got to deal with if I'm moving forward on the front foot with this argument? And that's what he's trying to extract out of us. Rightly so. We're the ones that would hear all of those counter arguments and be able to counter them back when Anthony puts them to you. So what you perceive as Anthony not getting it, I don't necessarily think is the case. If he doesn't fully understand it to overcome the objections that he's presenting to you, then that might be the case. But he's putting them to you so you can overcome them for him. Saves him a lot of work, doesn't it?
Nathan, he pretty much said the horizon is not the Earth. Come on.
Maybe he's putting that to you because that's what's been put to him. Yeah, they say the ground position's not the ground, Neil. I know. They're telling him that when you measure the Earth to navigate the Earth and establish a horizontal baseline with something you're looking at, that's not the Earth. Okay, that's obviously a rebuttal Anthony's had. Fine. Now, I can just laugh at that because I fully understand the argument, but being new to it, Anthony's going to go, oh, right, so the horizon's not the ground. Can you convince me? And then they'll convince him how it's not the ground, even though they've spent 10 years telling us it's a position that blocks boats and buildings. It's okay for them to claim it's the ground, a physical hill. When we use it to measure and practically apply to a ground that's flat, suddenly it's not the ground. Yeah, that's shocking, isn't it? Well, yeah, don't concern yourself that Anthony's well aware of the devil's advocate position he needs to put to us to get the information out of us.
Yeah, you're right.
It's actually
Because
a power
did you
move to
read
have
anything?
somebody else do
Did
the
you
work
read
for you.
anything?
No, apparently that's just how he operates. I know Anthony well enough to know how he operates, so it's not like he's trying to be a dick or trying to get one over on the people he's extracting the information out from. He's just got a methodology.
It's a good tactic. It's a good tactic.
It's a legal way of doing it. He's a
Listen.
lawyer, isn't he? So that's how he's been trained
Am
to
I
do
not
this.
being heard?
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with you.
Anthony spent, it was over an hour yesterday. And you're right. We had 10th Man, bringing it to us over a year. Fine. But he's spending too much time with Bev. And that's the problem. He were arguing for an hour, and I'm afraid it's going to lead to people falling out. Because he was getting hairy yesterday. And if you read any of his comments in Master B, he said he is going to be there every day to resist this false doctrine. That's what he called it.
Okay, that's good. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good luck with that. No worries. I'm not too concerned.
But it seems like we're getting resistance from flat earthers about this. This is troubling to me. Like, I can't connect the dots. Like,
Neither
I
can
expect
they.
this from anti-flat earthers and ballers, but not people from our own side. Come on.
Don't understand it, then I don't want to learn it, and it's complicated, therefore better to just push back against it. That's much easier. Don't care. Doesn't concern me, Neil. It is what it is. Keep telling people. Celestial navigation is what it is. It's not a claim I'm making. It's not something I've got to defend. And when people start bracing against me, in the past at least, I've said, you're not bracing against me here. You're bracing against a process that's well established called celestial navigation when you tell me I'm wrong because they measured the Earth and establish a horizontal plane to reference. Yeah, that's what they're doing. There's no question about this. It's not like you're going to say, well, you're wrong, flat earther. Am I? This isn't my... It's like with the scientific, it's like QE's scientific method. No, it's the scientific method. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. It's not suddenly QE's wrong because he states what the scientific method is. No, you're not going to debate QE on what is the scientific method. It is what it is. This is the same. It's like you can ascribe it to me and say, oh, this flat earther says you measure the Earth flat when you establish a horizontal baseline. That would be the ground that you're navigating. Yeah, I do, because that's what you do. It's not a claim anymore.
Well,
it's just a matter of fact.
Well, that's what I said to him. And I asked him honestly, I said, Anthony, could it be that you just do not understand celestial navigation right now? And he told me that's a non sequitur. That's not the point. What do you mean? That's the whole point. This is what we're talking about.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, we have another flat earther now. Most recently, yesterday, we had Jesse coming in with his Lite. He has so many of them. But in the end, he admitted to be a flat earther, and he actually asked to change his role. He was talking about his measurements between mountain distances on the vertical datum. We heard that one before somewhere. And he posted some diagrams completely depicting a flat plane with the horizontal baseline, with all the zeniths of the mountains running parallel to, perpendicular to the surface at 90 degrees. I mean, no other way to explain better than Jesse.
Can you send
He
us
gives
those?
quite a few diagrams of a flat plane.
Can you send us those diagrams? Can someone grab them off?
Oh, yeah, I can share it with you.
Yeah. Can someone stick them in Master B from Jorge? That'll be useful.
Yeah, I'll post it on the chat.
Thanks.
Is this like the Jesse that's been around for a long time, George?
It's not Kozlowski, it's the other Jesse.
Oh,
He's
man.
more on the Awakenings. He used to
All right.
be on 24/7 as well.
Right. Well, I see them. It's two pictures, right? Measuring angle, distance. Those pictures? George?
George?
Because I found his posts.
Yeah, some of the diagrams he drew and some of them he
Yeah,
posted.
posted there now, 4 of them.
Oh, as for them, I only found 2.
He was here all day yesterday. You were here too, Righteous, when he was here.
Yeah,
I
not
was
wrong.
I was a bit in and out. I was also had a busy day yesterday, but I was in and out.
He's still spewing some nonsense, but every time he posts a diagram, the diagram contradicts what he's trying to explain.
So the diagram condemns him.
He's saying they have to measure it flat too. All they can offer is mitigation for how they actually measure it. So if you can get them to show a measurement that they're making, it will reference a flat Earth. In all instances, that's how Earth is dealt with.
Well, the very first one that he posted is one with a depiction of a theodolite and a line that says level, and they protracted at the end, and that level line goes through the zero baseline of the protractor, measuring the angle of elevation. That one was my favorite one.
All right, hold on. Let me get them all up. A second, messed up.
Oh, I see you're not there yet.
Yeah, the protractor is beautiful. When you put the protractor on it, it makes it as obvious as.
Oh, he has
The
it all.
sun,
He has it all in the same depiction. In the same depiction, the protractor, a level line, a tripod, an elevation angle, a tree. He has it all. Well done, Jesse.
Including
Once again, man, I giving you props.
nasty scaling.
Hey, where do I find these? In the chat?
Main text chat.
These are all wonderful depictions of how you measure. He's even got level on it.
Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah, that's exactly how it's done. I gave him props. I said, "Thank you very much, man." By posting this, you cannot be a baller. Definitely not. So he even has a role of flat earther.
Wonderful. So
he's happy about it.
He changed his position, or are you saying that sarcastically?
No, he has changed his position.
You're telling me that based on his own diagrams, he's changed his position from globe Earth believer to flat earther?
Yes.
No, I don't believe you. Can we talk to this guy?
He was here for the past 2 days, man, like pretty much all day.
And he's gone from being a glober to being a flatty based on his own examples. This seems too good to be true. Okay, well, I mean, if he comes in, it'd be nice to talk to him.
Yeah, we talked about that as well. Roto actually recommended him to come in and have a chat.
Okay.
I thought you were talking sarcastically.
Well,
no. This actually happened yesterday several times. You know, the first time he put it, the first one, you know, which debunked his own argument, and then he wasn't quite convinced, so he posted the second diagram, and they said, "Yeah, this second diagram also supports exactly what we are saying." And then the third one, you cannot be a baller after posting all of this. That's what I said, and I suggested to change his role, and he agreed to change his role.
Okay.
Yeah, we had lots of fun last night.
Now,
absolutely.
Now you're roboting, Neil.
No, absolutely correct, Neil.
What was I going to say? Mighty Mush was going to give us some more context. Mighty?
No, I was just going to say, in the beginning, he did say, just for the sake of an argument, he wanted his role changed. But later on, he said, like, yeah, he admitted it's flat. He measured it flat. And yeah, he wants to be, he wants his flat role.
So you're telling me,
changed it for him.
So let me get it straight. This argument has presumably taken place on the front foot with you guys asserting to him Earth's measured flat. then he's gone out and gone, no, Earth's proving sphericity if you go out and measure it. He's then
He actually wasn't saying that.
He's then plumbed
He
up.
wasn't saying anything about sphericity. Sorry to cut you off.
But he's offered up some measurements and depictions of how we measure things. And then conceded that based on how we measure things for him, as a glober when he presented it, that we are in fact measuring it flat. Ergo, I can only surmise that what I'm trying to achieve in 2024, you are basically telling me it's working. And here's an example of it with a particular dude. Correct?
I think so. Yeah, man.
I got goosebumps.
Tell me about it, man.
John,
yeah, once you realize,
I need to, at this point, now that it's working, right, ascribe the success to John, because it's him that has got frustrated and sometimes even stormed out of some of the hangouts because we're just not getting this. Right, John? You've been doing that. You've been banging this drum for a good long time, and that gets quickly forgotten. Same with gas pressure without a container. Where's that? QE's the one who came up with that argument, while I get some credit for it, which is nice, because I've put it out to my audience in the way I've put it out in my own special way. But it's QE's argument, and I'm not decrying the fact that you don't necessarily have to offer up credit if you've used that argument and won in a debate with it. You take ownership of that. That's notwithstanding that fact. But also, it is nice when someone else is, in this case, it was John Thor, cutting up a bit of my video along with a bit of Witsit and who else did he put in there? He put someone else in there who's, I'm really sorry if it was you. I've forgotten who the other person was. Anyway, he's chopped it up and, it's presented as the gas pressure without a container argument. So I went in and put a comment and said, props to QE. It's him that originated this argument. And in this case, it's John that originated this argument. He postulated it easily a year ago. They have a flat plane that they use to argue for a globe, and they offer it up against a false dichotomy flat plane that we use badly. So they measure a flat plane, we measure a flat plane. This sentiment is John's. Just want to get that laid down right early on. But I'm still going to push it. Because it's working.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had enough of debunking the globe. It's time to prove that we actually live on a flat and stationary plane.
Right, because when you put that position to them in terms of measurements, they'll be showing you how they measure it flat too. Now, will that, as the road progresses, become more complex in terms of how they sneak it in? It already was. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's going to be no new turns of events that we go, oh, wow, they managed to subtly slip the flat plane in without us noticing on this one. They're never going to do it. McToon came the closest, credit where credit is due. So offering up flat plane measurements in the form of angles to ask how they'll work on a flat plane was ascertaining angles that can only be acquired from a flat plane and then asking us how they'll be used on a flat plane. That's probably as good as it'll get, I suspect.
Is McToon's offer of that 10,000? That's a bunch of BS, right? I mean, you guys might have talked about that before.
That's what we are. That's what I am talking about. What that challenge is here's some measurements, some angles that can only be acquired from a flat plane. They're angles off a flat baseline. So he presents them and says, how do these work on a flat Earth? I mean, that might be oversimplifying what his challenge is, but that's what it is.
Well, he ends up admitting that this is what the flat earthers are talking about. It's actually done like this, he says. He admits. I've claimed that 10,000 pounds as well. It just doesn't pay, obviously.
Is the challenge put across in a way where we can't, do it, I guess, is what I'm trying to find out?
The challenge is how to acquire an elevation angle from a curved surface. It cannot. So less an elevation requires an elevation angle.
Hey, George. George.
Hey, Roto.
Hey, man. Yeah, the conversation yesterday. Tell Nathan, see, so you got in your diagram there. So the visual of level in the diagram over and over, marked, labeled level, right? Tell Nathan what happens when Jesse makes a level table.
Oh yes, yes. Well, I was amazed to find out that my living room actually is spherical. The surface, that is,
Oh, John, are you
because according
listening?
to Jesse,
I just want you to
yeah,
carry on in a
because
second,
according,
George. I just want John to listen
yeah,
because he did this 18 months to 2 years ago. But carry on. It
that's
sounds like
correct.
this. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the same example. So this is because he was talking about mountains to mountains to mountains elevation. So I give the example of my living room. So I start with measuring the height of my chair from the ground, and then I measure an angle to my sofa, and then another angle to my table, and another angle to my TV. And in the end of all of those angle measurements, I will assert that the surface of my living room is actually spherical.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I
What was
didn't
his
know
response?
that.
What was his reaction?
Well, he had to agree that the surface it must be flat,
Well,
according with
no.
his diagram.
Based on your hijacking of what they do with their optical resolution loss calculation on a flat plane that they say is Earth curve as the cause of that optical resolution loss. Well, that cause, when ascribed to a much smaller scale, means your kitchen's curved, doesn't it?
Yep.
Right, so you've either got to concede that when we do the same exact hijacking of perspective on the small scale, you can make your kitchen curve, you can make your house a sphere, that's what they're doing with the maths. I think it's beautiful. Like I say, a lot of what's going to be progressing flat Earth, I feel, in 2024 is going to be ascribable to John. Everyone gets their moment in the limelight, right? 23, maybe a bit of 22 was 10th man with elevation angle measurements. Prior to that, Black Swan and various other aspects of flat Earth that we've come to date with. And many of the housekeeping questions are can be specifically ascribed to panel members. But in this case, it's they're going to need a flat Earth for that, and it's John that's basically
John was way ahead of everybody, huh?
way ahead.
He even measured in the kitchen when he did that. It's amazing.
Yeah, with Bunk and Debunk, the little hippo teddies or whatever they were.
Yeah. Yep, I remember that. Man, this is great.
Very much so. But it takes us a time to catch on, right? So, for John to put it out there and then somebody else 18 months ago to ascribe it, in this case George, to an opponent with the exact same example and the same conclusion, you're like, yeah, it does take time for this stuff to permeate out. So it's probably I estimate a year when I first started talking about this, right? I'm like, if we compare us now, but in 12 months with what we're doing, if it carries on, to Morgile debating Tim Osman and Upside Down Ed Head, or Upside Down Head Ed, you'll see a stark contrast where all his positions are debunking the globe assertion on the back foot compared to, well, yeah, here's a few examples of how I say Earth's measured and it proves sphericity. Flat Earth example, flat Earth example, flat Earth example. They're doing the work for us now.
Yeah, it's amazing how
Nathan, if you think about it, that was the only road we can go down, right? Earth is measured flat. That's the proper course of things.
It's a silver bullet, yeah.
Did I hear someone say that their living room was measured as a sphere as well?
Yeah, George. Yeah. You should feel proud right this moment, John. You really should.
I do. The only
I was
thing that would be
surprised
better
because
is
I didn't know.
George is trying to tell you, John.
I didn't know. I was surprised. So I have a brand new living room. It's completely spherical. The surface, that is.
Yeah. Hey, John, it's funny because so they will, with visuals, understand on one hand what level means. They'll show you a straight line. They'll draw it out. They'll put a label on it. This is level. When you get them to define level, it doesn't look like what they display. So in asking Jesse, George is just laying out horizontal verticals over and over, just laying it on Jesse. But Jesse, when asked, so Jesse, when you run a level when you run a spirit level, bubble level over a surface, because he says we can build level on a sphere. I said, okay, Jesse, what let's build level on a sphere. What does that look like? So when you run a bubble level, you're going to make a table. What's it going to look like? Is it going to be flat? Is it going to be level, like flat, or is it going to be a curve? He said it's going to curve. So when you run a bubble level over a flat table, it'll curve to be equidistant from the center point. So you see, on one hand, it's just the double-mindedness of how they look at the word level. They can't escape the fact that they know what level means. They know what it means. It's ridiculous. It's in the ridiculous to think that it curves, right? We all know this, but we're playing this game like it actually does this because, someone said this, someone's taught this, that level is curved. And now we gotta play this game, like pretend. It's a little silly, but you see what it does to a guy like Jesse. Jesse's not stupid, He understands
Maybe
angles.
that's what has to be done.
Yeah, we don't really have
Yeah.
to play the game. That's what I tell
Right.
flat earthers. I tell them like no, like they're beginning a conversation. It's almost like a child that you don't know coming up to you and doing something disrespectful and you engaging with them for an hour. It's like you don't know these people when they come in and tell you what your model is, or you don't have to actually engage that.
Did you miss part of your like intro?
Yeah, I'm mixing it up a bit.
Okay,
Good
because we were
afternoon,
talking
everyone.
about that the other day. We believe you're reading from something.
Believe I'm reading from something? No, I've just said it so many times that if you go back through the times, it does subtly change occasionally. But no, I'm not
Well,
reading
prove
anything.
that you're not reading.
I said this yesterday. I don't have a script in front of me because I don't have a desk in front of me. I don't even have a keyboard in front of me. What are you talking about? You think I've got some sort of
Prove that you're
auto
not
prompt?
reading something.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
reading.
but hold on a second. In The Godfather, Marlon Brando had his lines written on the ceiling, on people's backs when they would turn to them. I found this all out the other day.
Well,
I'm not saying you are, Nathan. I'm only breaking your chops.
There's two different terms, right? There's script and scripted, right? So if something is scripted, it means that it's written down and you learn the lines. However, you can be on a script. So when we talk about Dave Weiss going through his blurb, that's him going through his script. When I say begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, earth curve calculator, that's part of a script. Now, that's not to say I'm reading it off something. It's just other people might call it rhetoric. Yeah? But it's not written down. It's like the intro. I've developed the intro over time. It's adapted. Go on, John. John, your mic's wide open.
Oh crap! Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought you had something to add. You were so great in the pre-show. You were getting so much praise.
He actually wants to ask George a question. I'm sorry to take you off with the script.
Fine.
That's not
No,
important.
that's fine. If he wants to ask a question, I've got to fill the live audience and know what we were talking about. So I'll do that in the meantime. So about 18 months ago, John had a skit with Bunk and Debunk explaining how if you take perspective measurements in your kitchen, you can extrapolate out a curved surface to your whole house by those measurements. In the same way, Earth curve is a hijacking of perspective in that rhetoric I just led with a minute ago to explain that I'm not on a script. Nevertheless, George has then gone forth to put that to a baller. Now, from what I'm hearing in the pre-show, and I'm still a little bit skeptical about this baller has essentially conceded that all of his measurements are flat, therefore has turned to a flat earther as a result of his own measurements and own examples. I'll just put one of these up on screen now so you can see what we're talking about. In terms of their assertions of how they measure as a baller a flat earth. Now, that's what I'm saying we should all be leading with in 2024. We're flat earthers, for heaven's sake. Let's lead with our earth's measured flat, because it is, for everyone, including ballers, and in this case, a convert, and the first one. But alongside this story comes George's story of how he has basically utilised the bunk and debunk argument of how you can turn your house into a sphere by the same extrapolations that the ball earthers use with Earth and perspective. So that's the conversation that's been taking place in the pre-show, and John's got some questions for George, or the other way around. I forget which way.
Yeah, I was going to ask George, did his opponent calculate his living room as a sphere, or did George do that?
Well, he was asserting that he was doing that, transposing from mountains to mountains, and it would have excess and giving the sphericity to the plane. So I gave the example. So what you're saying is that my living room is actually spherical, because what you're doing is you're taking the first height, like the height of a chair, for example, in my living room, and then measure the angle to the sofa, and then the angle to my table, and then the angle to my TV, and in the end, you're gonna tell me that the surface of my living room is actually spherical. I didn't know I had a spherical living room, I said. But ultimately, I said to him that he must be a flat earther, because every single projection that you are showing to us, it requires a flat plane. He gave us quite a few examples of elevation angles. He described them accurately. And I gave him props, because he's been doing this surveying thing for quite some time, and he's been measuring it flat. He's just not realizing it, how flat it is. So he ended up agreeing with us, and his role has been changed to a flat earther.
Did you follow that, John?
Jesse Kozlowski is now a flat earther.
No, not a different
No,
Jesse.
it's not Kozlowski.
That's not a major on the
Different
minors.
one.
Stop. The scale was given in the big scale with mountains. George then took that example and put it in the small scale, a la bunk and debunk.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I did it.
I got to hear from this guy first. I got to hear him say he's a flat earther. This all sounds
You
good.
have the depictions
let's
there.
see.
You have the depictions there. 4 different diagrams. Every single one of them requires a flat plane as depicted. Baseline. Yeah, you have one particular there with 4 different mountains in the distance. Every single mountain's zenith is running 90 degrees to the surface and 90 degrees to the observer. I mean, all of this can only be done if you do it exactly as depicted. He knows what he's doing. He's been
I'm
doing it for
not
quite
doubting
some
you at
time.
all.
I only gave him props. Yeah. Thank you once again for another picture debunking the argument, because you must know these things. For you to draw this in a piece of paper and share it with us, I mean, you got to know these things, because this is exactly what we are saying. This is the geometry. No curvatures in here. Baselines, surface line, level line, zenith lines, 90 degrees, elevation degrees. Yeah, that's how it works. Thanks, Jesse.
Brilliant. Shimon.
Sorry, I'm taking it back.
Your reaction is my reaction. I know you were here while I was listening to it earlier, John, but you obviously were away from your mic. I was a little bit taken aback too. You're like, okay, because it's working. Now, I was mocked by my own wife about this, because she's pointing out to me that I'm telling flat earthers to point out that Earth's flat. That's, in essence, all we're doing here. But in practical terms, when you put that Earth is measured flat to an opponent, where they also must measure Earth flat, that's incredibly impactful for everybody watching. Eli, you're off mute.
You
my
ain't
friend.
Obviously they still have some cognition, There's still some double speak attached to it. It's still new to the whole thing, but he is actually measuring everything to be flat.
I think it's only appropriate that we have a few moments silence for our fallen globe brethren in this regard. They too measure Earth flat. That's correct.
Yeah, it seems like the globers are catching on quicker than the flat earthers.
If they profess to know how they're measuring it, then they're going to measure it flat, right? The flat earthers have had nothing but a belief for the last 10 years. At least the globers were hijacking actual measurements of a flat Earth and then postulating that those measurements that make them so much smarter than the flat Earth believers, which strictly speaking to an onlooker it does. But the onlooker doesn't realise that the measurements in the first instance have come from a flat plane. We realise it. Now we're going to point it out in 2024 so that people who come here hear this discussion. This is basically the ideal discussion that I would hope to have in 2024. That's why there's lots of protracted silences, because I can't quite believe my ears. We're not even halfway through January.
Yeah, I think that was the issue yesterday, too, because a certain party has sort of like a belief and not a knowing, because he said the only thing that would bring me back to the ball is sunsets and the way the sun works. So you have to know the Earth is flat. Otherwise, you're going to be pulled left. You're going to be pulled right. It's measured flat. It's over.
Okay, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Did you not hear what I just said?
Is there any evidence that you can do this?
Negative. The guy tried yesterday, right? And he measured his kitchen, right? It's not spherical.
Were any of you participating in the group call I had in Skype earlier this morning?
I was there. I think it's a brilliant idea. Push it forward.
Nobody knows what we're going to talk about. Anybody else other than Neil? I'll discuss it when there's a few people. Like with the group call, Neil, I just want to check if there's a couple of people who've been privy to this prior to me discussing it with the public.
I was there, Nathan.
Oh, you were?
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. We've got one person in Discord and one person in G+. That's ideal. Great. Good. We will discuss this now. Title of today's show is Sleeping with the Enemy. Now, I have, in my humble opinion, spotted something in one of our opponents, who we've covered a couple of times, called Planet Peterson, where there was various aspects of his video, which I've not actually watched, I'll be honest. I watched it via Flatsoid, so I'll just disclaim that straight away. But while Flatsoid was covering Planet Peterson's response to our response to his video, glad we didn't do it, that would have got confusing quick, was to at least hint at me that he had a certain degree of humility that is lacking in many of our opponents. The other problem that I saw for him was that his knowledge was sorely lacking. Now, currently, we are moving forward on the front foot in hopefully all instances with how Earth is measured flat. And there's a whole wealth of knowledge, anti-flat earther knowledge, that has been acquired by us, the winning side of the debate in that regard, that I'm saying, well, we've won. You know, there's the amount of people that say, well, there is no debate, and I concur. But for the fact that people don't know who we are, there would be no debate, because everyone would know who we are and know how the arguments work, and therefore would, if they're up to 2023 at least, understand how this sphere doesn't work. But there is a whole, like I say, wealth of knowledge that I'm essentially casting to one side. Now, that isn't to say that it's not useful. And there is a certain potentially mutually beneficial relationship that can be built up with someone like, and it may not be this example, but it may be, you know, I'll approach him and find out, but with someone like Planet Peterson. What do I mean? Well, Planet Peterson is sorely lacking in his heliocentric knowledge, and in order to be in a winning position in terms of debate, you've got to know your opponent's argument better than they do to be able to overcome them. Now, given that we're talking about how Earth in the first principle is measured flat, there is a surplus requirement to understand any of that stuff. It's not to say that you won't have to, as we've already discussed many, many times, have to oppose it if somebody puts that to you and you have to respond to it, then yeah, you better be up to date with the flat Earth debate in that regard, because if you don't know your heliocentric stuff when it's put to you, you may not be able to overcome it. But it doesn't change the first foot that you put forward in this subject in terms of how Earth is actually dealt with and measured. That would be flat. So there's all this knowledge that's milling around with myself included and the panel in their heliocentric expertise. And who are we going to give it to? I'm literally going to condemn people on my own panel if they try and do it as an opener. If we're not dealing with a fundy on the panel, I'll stop it entirely. So what do we do with this knowledge? Well, there's budding anti-flat earthers, who in this case, at least on the surface to me, with a response video by Flatzoid to a response video from us to a video by him, he seems reasonably amiable. And furthermore, this is the only reason why I might approach him to actually do this. This is Planet Peterson. Willing to admit when he doesn't know things. Shocking, isn't it? Quote, "I don't know what he's talking about," end quote. Now, as soon as I heard that quote, this went through my mind. I'm like, okay, so you're in a position where you would benefit from learning the intricacies of the heliocentric argument. So I put all this to my panel, so to speak, on a Skype call with various individuals, two of which are here now, in terms of how can we benefit from him, obviously reaping all the rewards of gleaming heliocentric knowledge from us. And secondly, if he's going to gleam it from us, he's got to have something in it for him to know that he's not just going to get attacked or debated with. So the way I phrased it to the panel when I'm suggesting this is to say, as we basically disseminate the correct information for him to better himself in his peer group, that's anti-flat earth, in terms of acquiring the exemplary knowledge that we now have and I am decrying, but without any combative, what would be the word? If it was a gun battle and at any point he decided to shoot because he decides that you're wrong, I'm furious and I'm going to make that clear, I would have to agree to him that I would lay down and just let him, and then wait till he'd finish barraging my face with bullets until I got it back up again, brush myself off and go, right, now can we continue with you in your heliocentric endeavours to understand how it actually works correctly. So what's in it for us, you might say? Well, hold on, aren't you just suggesting that you educate a heliocentrist better in their rhetoric? Well, yeah, what's in it for us? Because obviously I've got a flat earth audience now. Well, what's in it for us is that they have an algorithmic advantage. We used to have it back before 2018 or whatever it was, that they spoke to Congress and told basically flat earthers to get lost in the algorithm. But Peterson isn't stifled by that in any way, shape or form. So all I can try and glean in terms of advantage for me is a mutually and public agreement that there is a sort of symbiosis in terms of this discussion that he and I would take place in or take part in between each other, where there's a mutual respect, which I feel someone like Peterson, it might not be him, he might just tell me to get lost if I approach him, but someone like him would benefit from being a better educated anti-flat earther and wouldn't be in an embarrassing position like Simon Dan, where they're denying their own rhetoric, like you and your reference frames are ruined. But I can very easily see someone like Peterson who is too late, he's missed the boat. They've already got a Simon Dan, so you don't need somebody who's just very amiable, who doesn't really matter if he's getting it wrong. There's no niche to carve out for Peterson. Well, I certainly can't carve out an anti-flat earth niche, short of relinquishing all my morals, but I can potentially find a union with somebody who definitely isn't being favoured in the algorithm, but I can say, look, this is what I've got to offer you. You can potentially better yourself in your arena and gain the algorithmic love that I desire, but I can piggyback off that if I've got a link to my video of us discussing this, and occasionally you, which will definitely get in views, hammering me because I've agreed in principle to lay down my arms whenever you want to do that. So you'll have loads of clips where you're basically battering a well-known flat earther who's, at least in my own community, I would like to think is reasonably respected. So that's his advantage. I get to educate him in globe and piggyback off his algorithmic love that he'll get it as his understanding improves. Starting with things like the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, something which he openly admitted and is the reason he'll be the first I approach with this. He may not be the last, because as I say, he may tell me to get lost. To say, here you go, I publicly would like to align with you to go through the heliocentric rhetoric in detail. Not so I can debunk it, so that you can be better educated in it. And if you feel that I'm unreasonably representing it and need shouting at, I will allow you to do so, just to show that this is absolutely going to be for my mutual benefit if you, obviously conditional, snag the algorithmic love that you're obviously seeking. Because he's not a popular YouTuber. May have been popular on TikTok, but that's a transition I would assume every TikToker wants to make. Well, here he is. He's not popular yet for me to say I can make you, more popular than he isn't already. But we, having been in this arena for 10 years and having seen some of the algorithmic love before it was taken away, have other advantages to offer an anti-flat earther in terms of how to gain that algorithmic love from YouTube. We're very experienced. We may not receive it, but how can I snag it? Well, I've got to, as the title suggests, sleep with the enemy in order to achieve it. Now, when I pitched this, I appreciated immediately that when you hear it as an audience member live, you might go, what? You're telling me you want to help an anti-flat earther understand his own globe rhetoric better? Put him in a better position to argue with you? And not only that, in order to get him to agree to be better educated in his own rhetoric, you're willing to lay down all arms and take abuse from him when he feels that you're wrong? Yeah. Just to get algorithmic love. Yeah. That's basically the position that
is genius. That's genius. That is genius.
I want to know from the audience. I'm going to go to the comment. You weren't involved in the call, John. I'm not sorry to cut you off after giving you so much love earlier. I actually want to know from the audience. And if you want to join, as I say in the beginning, right, it's true for this as anything else. If you want to join in this discussion, hopefully the room's not too full for anybody to get in. Join the Discord link, and you can offer your opinion on this too. Because the last thing I want to have is people, no offence to you, Bob, rest in peace, saying, well, you're just sleeping with the enemy. All you're doing is helping them. There's nothing else that gives us any advantage. So,
no, it's a difference. It's a difference in how you're doing it, Nathan. And I said that this morning, too. It is genius.
Okay, so we'll go to the comments. Hopefully, with a couple of minutes elapsing, there'll be a few comments on this specifically. And I'll reference what people think about this, because it is quite literally sleeping with the enemy. And having to make concessions so that he knows, hold on, this is weighed in my favour. Now, although it's speculative, Brian says don't mention this in terms of the pitch. If I was to, let's keep it hypothetically, Planet Peterson that was approached. And I probably will approach him. Like I say, in terms of sales, there's probably going to be 10 people I approach before one of them say, yeah, okay, I actually see the advantage and what you would have to sacrifice in order to offer it to get, for you, at least only a meager advantage should they be successful algorithmically. Because it's not like I'm going to grow at the same rate as somebody who's actually being favoured in the algorithm for their improved knowledge, right? But I can potentially piggyback off it where previously there is no route into us getting any algorithmic love. The amount that sharing the show and putting Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me on a comment, if they don't like us, they can just wipe that out as a YouTuber instantly. So, it's hit and miss. But if I have to collaborate with somebody who is essentially in the same arena because he's our opponent, to piggyback off him to get some algorithmic love, there's quite a lot I'm willing to sacrifice as a YouTuber to get that. But not at the risk of my integrity, because the easier route is cut him out completely. Start a new channel, put on a voice changer, and just go through heliocentrism better than everyone else who's there, right? But obviously that would mean a massive, moral sacrifice that I am absolutely not prepared to do. But he's not in that position, right? He actually believes the position that he's going to be learning more about, to the point where hopefully he would understand things like perspective hijacking in terms of orthographic representations and curve calculations and all the stuff that he seems to be, no offence to you if you're listening, Planet Peterson, pretty ignorant of. Let's have a look at the chat. Got Uncle Ben says fool. Got a few people just saying hello. No spoilers, please. Shout out to Uncle Ben. Shout out to Price of Adam. Good to see you, everyone. Yeah. Anybody actually commenting on this? I heard QE the other day when he went to the chat for the same purpose. He's like, I don't know why I'm even bothering with this. Got lots of comments about Earth being flat, Earth being measured flat. I don't know you're about. No, there's really nothing in here. Okay, well, thank you, public. Obviously not massive guffaws of objections to what I'm proposing. At the very least, that's all I can glean from what we've had in the chat. Thank you. But nice to see you all. Oxbow Spirit, good to see you. Mr. Jones, nice to see you. Bible U, Oz, good to have you all. Is it Colonel Angus? Who else I haven't said hello to? I missed anybody? Tanya, nice to see you. Dr. La, good to have you. INFE, nice to see you. Oxbow Spirit. Joko, or Jekko, or however you say it, nice to see you. Yeah, I think I've done everybody. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. All right, now it's time to get the feedback from the panel.
Nathan, you're our fearless leader. We follow you. We agree. Go get it.
Yeah, you say that till you're hearing me clipped out and seeming like I've lost badly to Peterson. Then you'll be maybe objecting, Neil. But I'll remember this when you.
But that's it. Hold on. That's an impossibility. The globe is a lie. There's no way you could lose or even appear like you're losing.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice to have an opponent who actually understands how their argument works and is taking advantage of some of our knowledge we've acquired over the last 10 years, specifically about heliocentrism?
Absolutely.
Right. Like I say, we may not carve out our own algorithmic love through doing that, but what other options do I have? Yeah, maybe someone can let me know if you've got contact with me and you know how I can get in touch with that guy, because I don't know him from Adam. Planet Peterson is his name. If someone can acquire me an email address or something of that nature, so I can drop him a line and say, I come in peace, this is an idea, feel free to say no, I'll just move on to next man, make it quick if you don't want to do this. However, if you do, I can see a lot of advantage to you with a friendly, self-declared, not going to attack you, in fact quite the opposite, allow you to attack me if you choose to do so, while I'm trying to impart better globe knowledge on you, because we've got abundance of this knowledge and I'm trying to cut it out my show, while I've got a whole panel, a whole network of people that can provide exemplary knowledge because I've spent 10 years studying it. The ins, the outs, the ups, the downs, all of it.
Nathan, doesn't Mighty Mush have contact with him? I thought I heard him saying something the other day about this Planet Peterson guy.
I just watched his video.
I thought he was in touch with him. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not in contact with him. But Nathan, he did say he will debate you on evolution. He was so confident about that. He was laughing at you. He said, you don't know anything about evolution. It's been proven by science. And he said he will debate you on evolution.
I mean, fine.
Proven by science.
Maybe that's what I've got to concede to, because this is a very weak subject of mine. So maybe losing badly to him on a debate about evolution, so someone can be calling me a numpty in clips where I get it all wrong. Maybe that'll be something I have to concede to convince him that, look, I want to go through your knowledge of your subject to the point where you are finely tuned as a globe proponent, rather than declaring to the audience that you don't understand something I've said. I'm your opponent and you should know my arguments better than I do. You don't, it's the other way around. But that to me seems like it's a win-win for him if I was to put that to him. Now, don't get me wrong. He might just see me as the enemy and therefore why would I ever want to have my own rhetoric educated to me by you? Well, because it's good viewing, because people will watch it, because you're growing the algorithm for it. Especially if I've already conceded in advance that were you to disagree, I'm going to have to sit back in my seat and tolerate it while you rant at me. But I'll be publishing it, you'll be publishing it, you'll be trimming out the bits that are advantageous to you, and potentially, if there's a link to my video, and obviously it's a discussion between you and I, cross-promoting, that's a YouTube advantage only to me, isn't it? So therefore, you can see that I'm not just doing it for nothing. Therefore, obviously, I'm going to be trying to get a gotcha on him. I need to impart that I'm not doing this to try and get a gotcha on you. Whereas if we enter into a debate over evolution, that's the only purpose. One of us is trying to get one over on the other and win. Whereas if we start from a different position, maybe don't enter into debate, as it might be starting off on the wrong foot if we did that, actually, thinking about it. But nevertheless, somehow convince him that is not attached to an ulterior motive to get one over on him. But merely with the YouTube hat on, I don't get any algorithmic love. That's why I appeal to every single respondent to put my link in their video. Whether or not he did, I don't know. If he sees me as just the enemy and's like, screw you, I'm not putting a link to you. Like, okay, yeah, I understand that attitude. I'm your enemy. However, if it was a mutually beneficial agreement, relationship, where both of us are not debating, but going through the wheres and wherefores of not flat Earth, but the globe. Specifically, I don't need to debate flat Earth with him, right? And we, moving forward on the front foot, don't need to talk about how the globe operates. Earth's measured flat. So, as far as I'm concerned, the detachment leaves an opening for a knowledge base that is not being exploited. Who's going to exploit it? What am I going to do with that? If I start putting Brian on the spot to start going through how heliocentrism on orbital motion works, then Who's going to want that from the flat earth side if I'm literally contradicting it? Well, they're not. I'm going to shut that stuff down. But how do you pitch that to some YouTube benefit? Well, you've got to have a friendly glober. Somebody who's actually, that's why I picked him in the first place. It's a great example. He seems like he's got a bit of humility.
It's catching, leaves an opening.
Say again, Reg? You might have just been hot micing. Something about an opening. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know if the audience has got anything more to add, if they've twigged to what I'm proposing. Like I say, I'll propose it. If I get some contact details for Planet Peterson, he may be the first person that I contact in this regard. And hopefully you'll see the advantages that can be revealed from people with an exemplary knowledge of his subject matter that he's trying to algorithmically break into. I'm glad you've all got a lot to say about it.
I like it. It seems like you're trying to use the algorithm against itself in a way.
Well,
Seems like he's doing something other than just sitting on the show. Way to go, Nathan. Get out there. Let's get it going. We should be mainstream by now. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, well, again, don't be disappointed, as I've already disclaimed, Neil. If I managed, let's say it was, we've got to keep it hypothetical for now. Let's say Peterson agrees, and he's like, yeah, hell yeah. I can see how that's going to definitely get me a lot of views. And he gets them, right? And true to form, he keeps my link in there. It's me and him talking, so obviously people are going to be well aware who I am, right? And I grow 1% of the growth he gets, which is what I would anticipate getting out of him and I discussing stuff on both he and my channels, and a link for he and I on either or channel. Yeah, he won't get any advantage from his link being in my video, but algorithmically I will advantage to the tune of about 1% when he grows, if he grows. Yeah, well, you might look at that and go, man, this is massively skewed in his favor. Yeah, it had to be to entice him. And yeah, you could quantify it as being minimal in terms of growth. Yeah, minimal's better than none. Exposure, that is. So ultimately, I'm offering information for clout. That's the trade. A minimal amount, because he'll get a lot out of it, I believe. And again, Brian was quick to say, no, don't sell him on that, because that's speculation. He might not get anything out of it. So just sell him on what you can actually give him, which is the impartation, if that's the word, of the knowledge itself, exemplary, that we have, that is being condemned currently in terms of the format of this show. Got to use it for something. Might as well use it to educate a baller who will potentially be put in a better position to debate with this. Great, that sounds great too. I'm bored of dealing with the numpties that don't understand their own rhetoric. Would I want to debate Planet Peterson as it stands? No. But if you want to look at it this way, you sharpen up the tool for your opponent and get them trained up better, and then they're going to push you further, aren't they? So there's advantages for me in that regard if I put positive spin on it. But in reality, that is just what I said, positive spin. Because the only real advantage that I would seek and would hopefully achieve, speculatively, because he's got to succeed for me to succeed, he's got to get out to more people by a factor of about 100 for me to get a little bit of algorithmic love off the back of it.
But the thing is, all the anti-flat earthers watch you, and then they disseminate stuff to their audience about you. The thing is, if they seen a glober berating you and you taking it, that glober would be a star overnight.
Yeah, that's something else Neil
How
condemned.
is it? Hold on. How is he ever going to get berated? How?
No, I'm glad you've said it. I pitched that too, and again, Brian was the first to condemn it. He's like, don't sell him speculative stuff, because he's giving me the pitch when we were discussing this, right? Which is to say, if you're going to pitch something you can actually give him. The information, the knowledge, the understanding is all real. And in terms of when it's being put to him, if he objected, when literally what he's getting is an education in Globe, then I'm going to have to say, in those circumstances, I'm going to just lay down my arms and say, okay, fine, you off you go, fine, I'll wait till you're done. I'm not going to debate you on this, because it's Globe information, right? So from that point of view, offering up the speculation of being a Globe hero because he's getting the opportunity. That isn't the be all and end all of what I'm offering him. I'm not saying what I'm dangling in front of you is the opportunity to berate me. Yeah, no idiot in their right mind would ever offer that. I've just got to give him the impression that no, my aim isn't to get one over and win you in a debate when we're discussing your betterment of understanding of globe. That isn't what I'm trying to achieve. I just want the algorithmic love. You and I talking about it would require potentially a guest speaker like Brian to come along. But if Brian comes along and goes, "You're going to be a god amongst globers with this. Beat me and berate me." That's never going to happen, is it? Right? But if it got to the point where he's frustrated with a piece of globe information for whatever reason, and Brian's on the guest panel and we're just having to sit back and tolerate his fury, that's very different to just being berated in debate as we try and get our flat earth winning point across to him. That isn't the objective. So he'll understand that, we're standoffish when there's confrontation in regards to a globe education for him. Obviously so, because there's literally then zero benefit to anybody when that happens. So the conversation's going to shut down, but for the ranting. But if that can be spun, trimmed out as, look at Peterson shouting at Nathan about how wrong he is about a piece of globe information that he's trying to be trained on. Well, okay, I mean, that might be wonderful for globers, and it might make him a god amongst globers. I don't know that, though, do I? It's just speculation. But the information will be right and true and well-researched and documented and cited and globe-related, and will put him in a better position where, currently, it's a bit frustrating for us, another advantage here, by spin, that it's a bit boring dealing with idiots like Simon Dan who don't understand the rhetoric. Yeah, occasionally you get a nice little juicy soundbite, you and your reference frames are ruined. Stuttering at the beginning, but you and your reference frames are ruined, because he knows what a balls up he's made. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have an opponent that really comes up through the ranks? The dark knight of our opponents with a really sharp sword. Well, how sharp? Well, we were the ones who sharpened it.
So are you ultimately, is this like the glorified propping up of ultimately going back and forth with a genuine, potentially casual, actual glober and not anti-flat earther?
At this point, he seems new enough to not necessarily be an anti-flat earther beyond what you've been trained to be as a human in this world, as a Western world occupier. His general demeanour strikes me as what a normie would be if they were triggered by the subject and got here. Now, that does not say that he's not that new. Maybe he's been here for 5 years. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is he's green in terms of what his knowledge actually demonstrates. And he seems, at least to a degree, and it might just be a false impression I got whilst watching Flatzoid respond to him, that he seemed amiable. Yeah, he had all the usual ad homs. Don't start putting in the comments, he called you a stupid blah blah blah. Yeah, I know. It's a hint that I'm getting off one individual. And that individual, Planet Peterson, may not be that guy that we end up going, welcome, here is Globe Rob. Hi, I'm Globe Rob. And he's got 5,000 subscribers. And then a year from now, while Globe Rob and Flat Earth debate under maybe a different name or a different guise, but it'll be us and our knowledge about Globe being imparted on some Globe believer. Now, again, you might say, well, again, how does this have an advantage to you as a flat earther? We know where the arguments go. Now, I don't have to explicitly state this. If you've been watching for a while, why can we relinquish all those arguments? Good though we are with them and exemplary though we are in our understanding, why can we now relinquish them? Yeah? Now, without saying it explicitly, if you can't read between the lines in that regard, then you don't understand the plot that that will thicken as time progresses. But ultimately, we don't need to argue flat earth with anti-flat earthers anymore. But they absolutely, in the algorithm, need us to be challenged. That's what they do, and that's what offers them their advantage in the algorithm. Let's give it them. Right, Peterson's just some dude that he can offer it in the first instance. It might not be him, though. Go ahead, Eli.
So in turn, and it's genius, what we actually need is a more competent and prepared globe earther to actually have an actual interesting conversation because no one wants to see Mike Tyson fight a bum.
Yeah.
So we kind of
Yes.
actually want to build a culture where these guys actually know what they're talking about because people can go, they actually know what citations are and the difference between a citation and a source. And so now that they're doing that and we're doing that also, it only leads to one result. But
Yeah.
that would be a great world if that's how it actually went, right?
It'd be nice to not
we could
brace
push that
against.
along.
Exactly. It'd be nice to not brace against incorrect rhetoric that is only being utilized because in the moment, relinquishment of a globe earth claim gets you a point over a flat earther. Now, that's the standard for globe earthers currently. Well, I'm saying that whoever it may be, Globe Rob, for instance, there is no Globe Rob, I've made him up, but Globe Rob sees the advantage and goes, I can distinguish myself in the algorithm by having a better knowledge acquired from my opponents in the first instance. So I know the ins and outs of the argument, and because it's come from my opponents, subtly, if I was Globe Rob, I'd be thinking, I want to know how their arguments fail, and subtly I'll try and get out of them at any opportunity, because those are the bits that I'll want to cut out with a link to his video in every single video, and vice versa, mutually beneficial to both parties. But ultimately, both parties are going to, under the surface, we're enemies. But if that's made explicitly clear from the off, but an agreement in principle is made that while we might falter, there might be tensions risen on both sides occasionally, we'll have an understanding that that is not the objective we are trying to achieve. From a YouTube point of view, I want algorithmic love. From a, I want to stand a cut above all the other people who've already carved out their niche in this YouTube algorithm. You need something better to carve out your niche. Currently, he's not succeeding in that because he's a very green to the subject, not very well versed in his own rhetoric. Just another one in a pile of anti-flat earthers calling us stupid. Right? What's he got to offer YouTube? Nothing. That's why he won't grow. He's not going to be the next Simon Dan, but he could be. If he had something better than everyone else on the market, so to speak, all with a YouTube hat on, I can take advantage of that. If I piggyback on something, on someone that can niche their way out a new little crevice in the algorithm, and I'm alongside him, no matter how small the advantage, that's better than no advantage, isn't it? That's the way I have to spin this to myself to see that this is actually worth doing, where I literally see no other avenue to gain algorithmic support from YouTube. I don't see any other way of achieving that with a YouTube hat on. So you think, okay, are you going to sacrifice your integrity to achieve this? No. Well, how can you, number one, exploit the knowledge you've got, and number two, retain your integrity? Well, then you need a third party who's actually not on your side, because it's the only way you can achieve that, in my mind. Now, again, I want it in the comments. I want this video to generate a lot of comments in this regard. So I know that I've already appealed to the YouTube chat a couple of times, but I really want to know, is this the right call? Because if it all goes south, yeah, I'll own up to it. I'll put my hands in the air. But if you all condemn me for it, then obviously I don't want that to be the outcome. If there is any chance that's the outcome, I'd rather just not do it, because it's been 10 years of work building up my channel. I don't want you to all desert me, because you literally see me as just sleeping with the enemy, because the algorithmic love and actually putting out more globe earth rhetoric is worthy, rather than the overall advantage that you as a flat earth channel punting the fact that we measure earth flat will be propped up by a mutually supportive YouTuber who can get some algorithmic love. Anyway, hopefully that'll generate some discussion in the comments. Obviously, it's all very much welcome, and hopefully there'll be some back and forth from people who respond to this. But I'm glad it's been the main focus of the show, as we're 3/4 of the way through now. The live show, that is. 86 people watching. Please share the show. LVA Paul says, great idea.
Are you so basically?
I just want to cut in real good. I think all publicity is good publicity. To be honest with you, I don't see no way. Even if it do go south, as long as you handle yourself professionally and get your point out, I don't think it's going to be anything. I don't think anything going to be wrong with that, because you are presenting yourself to maybe a new audience. But I believe Nathan, you pretty much already like mainstream. People already know about you in this I guess, in this debate or this flat Earth world. It's just that they don't see you out there. That's probably maybe the only thing that's holding you back is that they don't see you out there since. But all of the anti-flat earthers talk about you. All of them make videos about you. Pretty much, Mattoon. That goes from Mattoon, the Planet Nord guy, Simon Dan, Dave McKean. All these guys make videos about you, so you pretty much already mainstream within that world. It's just now everybody want to see if you would engage with them, because the stick is that Nathan Oakley is the bad guy. He only stays on his show and this and that. And since Jaren and all of them, they decided to play division, and now they put you on that side. They put you on the other side too. Now people are really wondering if you really take a good look at it. This is the perfect time to actually come out. Because now people were wondering like, oh, well, we see Whitsitt, we see Jaren, we see, Flat Earth Dave or Brian or whatever. We see them. Oh, now Nathan Oakley. Well, let's see Nathan Oakley. Let's see what Nathan Oakley could say. What do he have to say? So I believe that's going to, bring that audience in there, because all of you guys is fighting for the same audience. So that audience actually see you out there and starting to engage with people, especially the newer Globers. I do think that's a real good move, because the audience that's already interested in what you have to say, but it's still while you still being censored, and then you still get all of these anti-flat earthers saying don't go on your show. Now, if they actually see you go on their show, go on a neutral platform or even their show, and they see what they're saying is not actually true, that you is actually willing to listen and willing to just basically get your points out, and you're very professional and handle yourself in that manner, then people will be like, hey, this guy's not like what they say he is. He's just, he a little wild, but he's not, anything like that. Let me go check his show out. Let's see what he's been talking about this whole time. I'm very interested. Or at the very least, they're going to come on just to, do what they already do, troll. But all of that bring you, algorithm love. All of that will bring you an audience, and it's putting yourself out there. Even if it goes south, you will still gain, a larger audience. You will still be in the front of a new audience, if you in the sense that you can bring back to you. Plus, you can make clips, and you can do what they do. You can make clips about your interactions with them as well, and maybe you could trick YouTube in that way.
Well, maybe that won't be the case either, because as I say, I'm piggybacking off the potential of someone else to take advantage of an algorithm that I can't take advantage of unless I compromise my integrity. Just a quick shout out to OBE Lines. It says, Tuesday's show was real excellence. Grateful to have access to members only Uncut and After Show. Oh, thank you very much, OBE Lines, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Subscribe to OBE Lines. He's a videographer, so check him out. Click on his little super chat, and I'm sure it'll take you to his channel. Click on the subscribe button. It's really easy. And you'll enjoy some of his stuff, which we can't cover here, because he covers a lot more conspiratorial subjects that, when it comes to the Flat Earth debate specifically, we condemn the discussion taking place, because it distracts from the facts about how it's measured. Now, that hasn't always been the case here, but it doesn't mean that I obviously find those subjects interesting, as do a lot of other Flat Earthers who have found their way here through that road, very specifically. So, there's a good chance that there's going to be a lot of people in the audience who are interested in what OBE Lines does, so check him out, subscribe today, and also, as he's shouting out my members, if you did want to become a member, there's a video that's taken from that very show that will be up as soon as it uploads. I'm actually uploading it as we're doing this show. Not normally that great at multitasking, but as I had a super chat and a reminder, I'd edited it just before I started the live show, and it's going out to members 5 minutes time when it finishes uploading. I've automatically set it to go to members once it's uploaded, so you can check that out. Can't remember what I called it. Measurements of Earth. It's flat. That's the name of the video. But it's essentially what we were discussing on yesterday's show. One of the participants of Earth Discussions, is that the name of the server? Earth Awakenings, that's the one, was denying that the ground position and the ground that we're measuring and referencing is the ground. So it's that little section with a lot of rumpusing. And indeed Whitsitt, who makes a star appearance and summarises the point and gets us back on track, points out that there's a lot of colour commentary and distractions from the point. And then, no offence to you, Gio, but you then discussed an internal issue about whether or not we should have hand raising in the server. Witsit cuts that off too and is like, rebuttal. So Witsit, as much as we give him crap, right, for things that we don't agree with that he postulates, mainly ether, when he's on fire, man, he's really good. And, you know, I gave him a lot of props yesterday. I'm going to give him a lot of props now because he's in that video. And you'll see exactly what I mean. You'll hear him and go, man, that's some top moderation right there. Because he gets the subject back on track, points out that there's colour commentary coming that's unneeded, shuts up one of our own, Brian, a flat earther, when he's doing the same thing. I didn't do it with Neil. Technically, I did a worse job, but I was the participant as opposed to a moderator. But the whole thing was made smoother by Witsit. So props to you, Witsit, if you're listening. You're on that video. It will get released to the public probably on Saturday. But for now, it's members only. Check it out if you're a member. Become a member if you haven't done already.
Hey, Nathan, not only did he get you back on, hold on, not only did he get you back on track, but he backed up your argument pretty damn good.
Yeah, he reiterated the concentric circles being used with the ground position for Polaris. On the ground. What's that? Not the ground! Yeah. So, yeah, it's nice to have Witsit have my back. I'm not going to lie, man. It gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling as I relaxed into my chair, knowing that I hadn't got to do it. And it's far harder if you're a participant, right? If you're the person debating, pointing out that all of your opponents are giving you colour commentary, is you having to hold the mic to do that, taking away from your point and your time. You need a third party to do it. So to have Witsit do it, man, like I say, I was just so chuffed. He's going to get so much props for that. Such a small gesture too, because it was the right thing to do. He paid attention to the point, understood the point, reiterated the point, stopped the colour commentary, got the argument back on track. Wonderful.
Can I say something real quick about the overriding punchline to what you were talking about earlier? Because you can grant them all their fallacious logic. You can stay quiet while they preach about their doctrines of sphere, but it's still measured flat. At the end of the, that's the only
my
thing that
point,
matters.
John. Right, it's a win-win.
Yes, what John's saying, although I'm not going to ascribe it as, you're right. You have also pointed this out in times gone by, although that wasn't going through my mind when I've been thinking about this, John. But you can ascribe that to it absolutely. But that wouldn't necessarily be my aim game, because if you were him, let's say back to Globe Joe or Planet Peterson or whoever it is that ends up potentially doing this, and someone will do this. Let's say I, at the end of each show, after showing tangent plane transposed to hell, wrapped the show up by going, because Earth's measured flat. If I did that on every show, the relationship would deteriorate immediately. In other words, there's certain aspects on their Globe show, even though it would be simulcast, that would be to say I'd be broadcasting it, they'd be broadcasting it, or if it's behind the scenes, I'd be recording it, and you would hope he would be recording it so he can publish it to his audience and my audience with mutual links. That's the whole point. That's the only benefit. So that would be the thing that I'd be stressing. This is all I want. So if you published a video that we're discussing orbital motion and you didn't put my link in, it's like, well, that would shatter the relationship for me, because all I'm trying to get is a bit of algorithmic love where I don't get any. Speaking of which, I keep asking, I just want to, last thing on Peterson specifically. He commented on Flatsoid's video, and I responded, did you put a link to my video in your video that you responded to? That was my first question. Then I told him, because he said he didn't understand, so I thought, although sarcastic, because I said you're welcome at the end of it, I answered his question. So, just so, hopefully this points out that I'm not trying to be a dick, right? So, he explained that when he heard the orthographic argument, that he didn't understand it. Because he disclaimed that, in other words, he had humility, I answered it. I went and dug him up a new citation. I went and searched for it and found a reasonably decent EDU citation for the juxtaposition between perspective and orthographic. Cited it in quotes and then put a separate comment with the link so it didn't remove it because I'm a non-member or whatever of Flatsoid's channel. So if the link disappears, so what? It's in quotes with a spaced out hyperlink so it doesn't flag any bots to remove it. So I've answered him. There you go. This is the essence of the argument. Again, while I was doing this, it was making me think, what am I doing here? I'm actually explaining to him how an orthographic view works. This is to his advantage. he's now understanding better how his argument works and gaining a better understanding through this cited, quoted source from a decent educational source about how perspective and orthographic works. This is bettering him. I'm like, surely this could work to our advantage. Hence, that's how my thought progression has gone. Does that make sense?
Are you talking about the orthographic view that uses surface level as a horizontal plane?
Yes, John.
John, that's extreme. It can never be a disadvantage.
Yeah, but it would take someone to point that
that's
out.
what John is
Yes, Neil, but do you see how not adding that on the end? Let's say this was a discussion between me and Planet Peterson right now, and we go through tangential planes, but I don't add that on to the end, right? So in all instances, we're still measuring from a horizontal plane of reference. Therefore, Earth is flat. If that wasn't added on at the end, the inference is all that's required for a mutually beneficial stream that both of us were doing. Do you understand, John? You couldn't be there.
Oh, I'm not invited. I got it.
Yeah, with that attitude. I'm just saying, from Planet Peterson's perspective, my show, Flat Earth Debate, this show, is about showing Earth measured flat. That show, whatever it was called, would be about learning how the globe works.
But you got to realize it's measured flat to show how the globe works.
That
So
would absolutely be in the explanation, and it would be from a really well trusted by him globe Earth source. So when we show how the plane of the ecliptic, the plane of the equator, the equatorial plane rather, how any of these work with a globe wrapped around them, it'll be phrased, this is how the globe works. And then you describe how it has an equatorial plane in the center of that globe and how the angles go through the globe, through the surface that you measured initially with the tangent plane out to the GP. Now, I almost sound like a globe proponent when I say it like that, don't I? Because I haven't declared how there's 3 flat planes just been utilised. But that's an inference that you, as an advanced understander... Go on.
I knew you were going to laugh. You're going to laugh. There's no way you can go through that spiel and not laugh a little bit, at least to yourself. I know I can't do it anymore.
Well, nobody's laughing when they want to get their exemplary heliocentric undoing through to an anti-flat earth proponent and are being rumpused or charged with giving him a flat earth silver bullet or something along those lines. When that happens, let's use Brian as an example. Do you think Brian is laughing when he's getting rumpus because he's explaining how a globe works to make a point? No. Wouldn't it be better if the opponent knew in their heart of hearts that it wasn't going to be summarized with, yeah, you see this flat plane? I've just explained how the globe works. See, that's a flat plane there. Yeah. We never get that now. And only in a world that could never be existing will a globe Earth proponent allow us to do that to them. I'll never be successful in pitching it. And if I did do that, then they'd just say, sod this. You're only here to get a gotcha.
The globe Earth is a gotcha, though.
By implication.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't need to be explicitly stated, does it? Now, up until now, because we've transitioned from flat Earth believers to flat Earth knowers, we have been explicitly stating it. But that's to ourselves. That's because of our own lack of confidence in our own bloody argument. We're beyond that now. So I don't feel we need to explicitly state it if all we're doing is disseminating our exemplary globe understanding to somebody who's greener than we.
And you can do that without laughing.
Yeah. Brian does it all the time, and he's not laughing when he does it because he's not putting it to an opponent who's friendly but ultimately wants to be laughed at, because it never happens. So what actually happens? They are rumpusing him. Wouldn't it be better if you're like, this guy really wants to soak this information up because it's advantageous to him, and all Brian's doing is going through how, elevation angle measurements transposed into the equatorial plane in the center of a sphere work. You know, that's a complex globe affirming issue. Are you saying I can't laugh instead of go, wink, wink with a noise. Yeah, I can do that.
The last time you just tried to do it a minute ago and giggled.
Didn't I? Went as in I'm winking at you. So I'm saying I can do it without laughing. It's inferred. Now we know it's inferred, but I know for a fact if Planet Peterson was watching this now, he wouldn't know. He doesn't understand what we're talking about, right? Well, I want him to. I want him to understand this discussion. And it doesn't have to involve me laughing at him because there's a flat plane being used. I can just explain how the flat plane in the middle of the globe is used to affirm that the angle measured off a tangent plane is used to get the angle to the star so it can be transposed into the middle of Earth on the equatorial plane. That is how it works on a globe, isn't it, John? Have I said anything wrong? Is it not exemplary globe understanding that's just disseminated?
That's exactly how it works on a globe.
On a globe, in a globe. Yeah, that's how it works.
I'm just going to have to willingly use on and in incorrectly for that.
Oh, the tangent plane that gives them their angle off the tangent from a single point on the globe surface is then transposed into the globe. So their on a tangent point measurement is then transposed into the globe on the equatorial plane. No laughter, no inaccuracies, globe affirming. Right? That's what
But that's not on a globe.
Tangent was on a globe. That's how it's depicted, though, isn't it? That is correct. How it would be depicted in a diagram if you went and looked it up. So it's like, no, this guy's lying to me when he's deceiving me with on a globe, in a globe. No, you look at the diagram. There's your tangent. It's meeting a single point at your feet, your surface level on the globe. It dangles beneath with the equatorial plane inside it. That's the measurement point off the tangent on a globe. Now, to measure it up with the celestial sphere, you need to wrap the celestial sphere around the globe and the equatorial plane inside it and move the angle measured from the tangent in the globe. But all of that would be accurate if you went to look it up, wouldn't it? Who's doing that? Neil, you're off mute.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's how it works in a globe.
Yeah. So I'd explain.
Just as long as you don't point that out.
No,
just don't point that out, I guess.
Well, you do point it out. That's how it works. And there's a globe in the picture. So that's good enough, right? And we've explained how it works with the globe in the picture and the tangent on the globe and the equatorial plane in the globe. On a globe, in a globe, it would be explained to an extent that the person, in this case in the example, Globey Joe, with his budding YouTube channel, green though he is, understands how tangent planes give them measurements with a GP that can be transposed down to the equatorial plane extending out beyond the horizon and beyond the equator on an extended flat plane for GPs to work on. On a globe in a globe is a shortcut to describing how the globe describes it. No need to put in the extra flat earth bit that's literally being used within the globe anyway. It's there and you have to use it to describe how it works in the globe. So you just explain how it works in the globe to the globey, who should say thank you at the end and realise that he's had nothing but an exemplary understanding of how celestial navigation works on a globe in a globe. Anyway, someone find me his email address and I'll email on bended knee with a proposal that seems mutually beneficial. Far better. Let's not slant it. I was going to say far more advantageous to him than I, but let's not do that. Yeah, it would still be a proposal I was putting to him, so he's still got to be pondering it and seeing if there is actually advantages. And bearing in mind that I am the enemy, there's a good chance he'll just immediately go, no, this is a trap. So, but nevertheless, it'd be nice to make, as it has been our example in this particular instance, Planet Peterson the first person that actually does get approached, although it may not be him. So yeah, if someone can drop me his contact information, I will contact him personally with a white flag, telling him I'll come in peace, and hopefully laying out what I've laid out in this live show to the best of my ability to him. And hopefully he'll see that there is advantages to have, and he can actually build his channel in a better way that potentially he could have done without help from his opponent. And I will hopefully reap some algorithmic rewards from having my links in his videos when we discuss his soon-to-be exemplary globe knowledge. But with that, I'm going to say if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
It's like having playing 5-card stud and getting dealt a royal flush.
Every
You're not
time.
gambling at that point.
Right. And you're getting that hand every time, John.
Yeah. We're basically the house and everybody else is gambling at this point.
Yeah. I love it. Eli picked up how good this move is. Eli sharp, man.
Only come about because I've started to have reliable equipment. Finally got a handle on my new computer, 18 months old, and it's not tying up my time every single day. I come in and move the mouse, computer comes on.
Are you making excuses for your laziness?
No, for the last significant period of time, more than a year, I've done nothing but faff with a computer every single day because I'd come in and it wouldn't work, wouldn't come on. When I say crashing standby...
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you. I understand
when
now.
I say I'm worried about it crashing in standby, the guy bought the computer initially, I did actually put this to him, and once I got it stabilized in standby, pissing around with the graphics card, it was then crashing under load. He's like, can't you put it back to how it just crashed in standby? I'm like, yeah, I can. But then you'd come in the morning, and then you'd have to start resetting stuff and messing with it just to get it to turn on, because it crashed in standby. Not only that, you'd lost every bit of information that was potentially uploading a video, if it was a members-only video and you just walked away from it and it happened to trip in standby because it was a 5-hour show and took a long time to upload, then all of that would be gone, and it would generate more work. Well, that type of thing would occupy my time. Not only that, you're like, I don't want it to do that again. So you start messing with it and fiddling with it to try and stop it doing it. Well, that process seems to have come to a complete end. Many, many mornings have elapsed, that would be more than 10, where I've come in and I've seen Bluey on and I've gone, did the computer come on? And my wife's going, yeah, I just moved the mouse and turned Bluey on. Or, Disney Channel for the kids. I'm like, oh, great. So I don't have to sit in front of it and meddle with RAM timings. No, it just works. Oh, right. So then you do something else, edit a video, and then you get to the time. Like today, I edited a video. I uploaded it while I was doing the live stream intro. Yeah? That's now live. Well, why? Because I had all morning to edit a video. Not mess.
So you have...
Go on.
You have more time, you're saying. You have more time because you don't have to tinker no more.
Yeah, so instead of tinkering, I'm thinking, how can I get some algorithmic love? What have I got to do? Well, in sales and marketing, if you've got a chip shop, where do you put your chip shop? It's competing with other chip shops, so you'd think you put it miles away in an area.
Next to another chip shop.
Right next door. That's where you put your chip shop, right next door to the other chip shop. Why? Because people know where to get chips, and they'll come to your shop. How do I put my chip shop next to the flow of traffic? Where's the flow of traffic? The flow of traffic's on the anti-flat earth street. So I need to put up a chip shop on the anti-flat earth street, don't I? How do I do that? It's not an easy thing to wrap your head around when you're fucking around with RAM timing. Excuse my French.
You could have said freaking.
Are you going to educate him on how to put a flat earther into a false dichotomy?
No, I'm not going to give him arguments. That's his bag. He can take what we've discussed in terms of how the globe works, how it functions, how it operates, all of the arguments that we've had to overcome. We've had to understand their position to overcome them. In terms of saying, well, what you now do with this, right? You now take this equatorial plane inside a globe and point out that sextants only work on a globe because they work in a globe on the equatorial plane. I'm not going to offer him that. It's like, number one, I'd be offering him up lies that we have to face down from anti-flat earthers with assertions that make no sense because they're not correct. No, sextants work as a tool for measuring angles. There's no curves involved beyond the curve of the tool. If it's a protractor, it's got a curved edge to it because that's what angles are, and so is the sextant. But that curve being superimposed onto anything other than a flat surface equatorial plane inside a globe in this regard is illogical. So I'm not going to offer him up illogical nonsense to put in false dichotomies. No. But if he chooses to, he can do what he likes with the information. If he chooses to take that into a fallacious place so he can win a point, then maybe he will be a god amongst globers, right? Because then he's got everything he needs to win fallaciously.
Nah, you can't win.
Hold on.
I know you said fallaciously, but go ahead, John.
I was going to say, you got to show him how the trigonometry does not work on a flat plane. That's part of his education.
Maybe.
Yeah, John can't be around for this.
Hey Nathan,
The globe.
Hello, Arthur.
it's Arthur here from Discord.
No
So
kidding.
you were saying something about Brian raising some objection as to you would be making a god out of that globe earther. It was a really bad Brian impression still. Even if that turns out to be the case, what I am thinking is how epic it would be if that is actually the case and we make a god out of that globe earther, and finally that globe earther realizes that the earth is flat.
Oh, a little
Yes,
be epic.
Arthur. Yes, Arthur. That's what
Arthur,
I'm
you're
thinking.
such a fantasist. You came here through a conspiratorial route through all of us, and it's so hard to shed, isn't it? You fantasist, you.
No, he's right. The guy can only come to the conclusion that Earth is flat. You're going to see. Hook it up. Somebody get the link. Let's get this going. Enough talking.
I can't have that frame of mind, Neil. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to pitch it to him if that's in the back of my mind as my objective. As harsh
It doesn't
as that
have
sounds.
to be in the back of your mind. You just do what you do.
We'll see. It may be in the background 10 more people being approached before one of them sees the advantages that can be had from a mutual relationship in this regard. So, yeah, it might die away for a while I'm scurrying around looking for TikTokers who want to break into YouTube.
But this is the only conclusion. We've already been down all the roads of globe arguments and globe information. There's nowhere else to go.
Well, just without the last statement, there's nowhere else to go. We've been down all the globe roads. That's the pitch, right? But you've got to be honest in what you're pitching. That is to say, I'm not pitching this so that I can get a gotcha at the end of it and tell you, look how this is using a flat Earth. Do you see the flat Earth there? That's Earth. That's flat. No, it's...
He's going to see it.
It may or may not. What I'm saying is, when you point out that the equatorial plane is what is used in their globe diagrams, that's how it is phrased. This is how it works for the globe. This is their modelling of this functioning inside the globe on the equatorial plane. There's your globe. You're happy it is your diagram. If you're not happy with the source, and this is where I say I'll have to lay down my guns if there's a barrage of, you're deceiving me. No, it doesn't work inside the globe, you liar. Okay, right. I'll sit here for 5 minutes. You get your rant out. Tell me how I'm a deceitful crap because I've picked a diagram that you don't like. Okay, now we've got all that out of our system. Are you happy for me to go to get a different one? Or you can go and get one. If you want to leave this as homework, we'll end this live stream, Planet Peterson. You can go away and find a diagram that you do like. Hopefully along the way, you'll realise that I am honest and I am definitely telling you how the globe does work and definitely better preparing you to argue the subject with a better understanding that is absolutely unequivocally correct for you on the globe, in the globe, on the equatorial plane, because that's how it's shown for all globers. So I'm not deceitful, but he'll find that out upon research after ranting at me. And I'll just have to take it, right? Now, if somebody goes, but that's a great clip, it's Planet Peterson shouting down Nathan while he shows him a .edu whoever representation of the equatorial plane inside a globe, and Peterson didn't like it, so he shouted at him. And look, he just took it. Well, yeah, next show, though, it's going to be Peterson's version of it, because he's going to go and research it and find a colour version of it that he does like. Yeah, okay, fine. But I haven't lied. I haven't been deceitful, and I've just told him how the globe works, where he didn't understand it before, to the point where he wanted to object with his own education. Now, in my mind, that would only be detrimental to him, even though in the short term, it seems to an onlooker like I'm getting shouted down, right? Yes, Nathan. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad you all digested that as much as I did.
I'm just laughing about it. I don't know. I don't see how this can backfire, really.
Easily. Well, I mean, if you want me to lay out how it could easily backfire, then I will.
Yeah, might as well hear how it could backfire.
Go ahead, because I don't see how, Nathan.
Oh, really?
I do not see how.
So me and an anti-flat Earth opponent are going through bettering his globe understanding. And all that happens at the end of the process is he's better armed to argue the globe. Are you saying that the people who are onlookers to that scenario are going to go, yeah, wonderful, you trained a globe head to be better at being a globe head? You think that will get me praise? I'm pretty sure that's a very easy scenario to envisage. Now I've put it in your brains because that's precisely what's going on.
Everybody on your platform knows the Earth is flat. This is a win-win. There's nothing they could say.
But I won't be on my platform,
I don't care how you equip them. I don't care how much you equip them, Nathan. Doesn't matter.
It will be mutually broadcast. So a discussion about, in this case, elevation angle measurements on the equatorial plane inside a globe would be a discussion that would be going out simultaneously on two different channels. And one side of the discussion is aired by people who absolutely only read between the lines of this proves the globe, and all else is excluded from their memory. But there will be plenty of information that typically would actually be coming from our opponents, wouldn't it? That I'll be putting out, Neil. So if you don't see this as potentially going sideways pretty quickly, then you're naive. It's not just all. What would I have to sell him if it was just to my advantage?
I don't see it going sideways. I see truth coming out, and I see a guy come to realization. That's how I see it.
One of our biggest complaints is that our opponents don't understand their own rhetoric. And you're talking about educating someone in their rhetoric. How is that not beneficial?
To them, massively. But to an onlooker, you've got a flat earther, in their name only, educating a glober on globe rhetoric. That's what I'm proposing.
Yeah, I'm sure the guy opening a chip shop, everybody's telling him, why are you opening it over here? What's wrong with you? Go 2 miles down the road. I'm sure they heard that.
I'm sure they did. I can't see another way of putting a chip shop on an anti-flat earth street.
Fish and chips. Let's get it right. Chip shop. Well, the two most successful Philly cheesesteaks are right across the street from each other in Philadelphia. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, in Birmingham, there's an entire mile of restaurants, all back-to-back Indian restaurants, one after the next. 1 mile long bit of Stratford Road, nothing but Indian restaurants.
It's the same thing in Chinatown, right?
Sure.
Hey, Nathan, let me add something, buddy. When I first heard of you, Nathan, it was under the pretense that Nathan Oakley is crushing it. So it wasn't that Nathan Oakley says this or that. It was that Nathan Oakley is crushing it. So I had to, my curiosity was piqued. That's what got me to your show, step one. So it wasn't just that you were saying just whatever, because lots of people were saying. It was that there was a testimony that you were crushing it. You were taking these arguments and crushing it. So just out of voluntary curiosity, I came this way and I wasn't let down. You were crushing. There's something about you have a strong personality. It would be intimidating to a guy like Peterson, I would think. But nevertheless, if you went over there like Flat Earther's saying, what would be epic is if you turned a Glober into a Flat Earther. However, it's not going to be Peterson. Peterson's not going to come subscribe to your channel and start donating because he believes in you. But if you debate these caliber of men, then the listeners, if you appealing to the audience, somebody in his audience might have that epic experience because of the way you can crush it, the arguments, and who may have been at Peterson's listening to what he has to say. You may net some results with his audience, is my point. Maybe not Peterson, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you're
I
looking
agree.
for interested.
Well, that is the other advantage with a flat earther hat on, as opposed to just gleaming YouTube algorithmic love from shared links and such like. Well, yeah, there's also the flat earth advantage, which is to say that same 1% also translates into his audience. You're absolutely correct. So if we're going through the inferred use of equatorial plane inside the globe, and that suddenly goes light bulb moment above someone's head in the audience, then that will be, for the majority of the time, just 1% of his audience, because they're only coming there to affirm their biases. So therefore, you can only assume that it's going to be a very small percentage that go, oh my God. So that's the bit that's being measured, the bit inside the globe. The equatorial plane is the bit that we're actually using. But it hasn't been stated explicitly. So it might be less than 1%, because, like I say, the majority are just there to affirm their bias, and they're going to be getting globe lessons from a flat earther and a glober. So you're just, as an audience member of Peterson, just getting a journey of discovery on better understanding heliocentric rhetoric.
As an example, yesterday with Jesse, there's something about Jesse's personality, even though he's laying out all of the globe rhetoric, he's tolerable because of the way he presents himself. George spent hours with Jesse. Yes, all day. I was in and out. George still at it, telling him, flattening out those lines for him, because Jesse is presenting geometrically lines, straight lines, to represent his claim in long distance, straight line, angles, using 90s over and over, right? So it's like if I were a new onlooker, and I'm fresh to these, the way George continued just to lay out just the what is, very simple. These are angles. This line is straight, right? George just stuck to his guns like that. But if I were freshly listening to that argument, because there were diagrams and everything, I would have chosen George's side. But it went on for hours. It was listenable.
That's my point, Roto.
Well, you're bringing a hard hammer with the truth in its simplicity. It can only be conceded. An onlooker listening to these things, they will see straight lines. As soon as somebody starts saying, this is not a straight line, this straight line I'm showing you is not really straight. This baseline is not really straight. So, I mean, in an aspect of just an onlooker's understanding.
They're going to say that.
Yeah.
They're going to say the baseline, it's not the ground. It's not the ground.
Yeah, they can do
the
that.
The baseline's not the ocean.
Neil, the brace against us currently is absolutely pathetic. The ground positions aren't the ground. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. See, now, the point is from an onlooker, a new onlooker listening to these arguments, which side would you choose? Which side really makes more sense to you if you're a serious seeker, altruistic in your intent, you want to know what the earth is you live on. These simple arguments, just like you're doing, Nathan, just like George did yesterday, just like everybody, John, Brian, they're straightforward. The onlookers, it makes more sense. It makes more sense. Logical, reasonable sense.
Just before we rounded out the live show, someone did leave a worthwhile comment of repetition, which echoes the sentiment that I think sums up what we're going for, or what I'm going for, which was scary, SCREYY. Learning accurate globe rhetoric is how most of us became flat earthers, so I think it's a good idea too. Yeah, that's it. Better educating yourself on the globe often will lead you away from the globe. That's the idea. That's how we have to, that's the angle. But as I say, it's learning more about the globe, full stop. What do you mean you're teaching him more about the globe? You're saying that that's what you think the best way forward? No, on my show, on Flat Earth Debate, we just talk about how it's measured flat all day long. But for the globers, no, we're actually talking about how 8 inches per mile squared formulas work today. Really? That's just educating a glober? Yeah. Weird, isn't it?
I can't see how you can lose. I can't see how this goes wrong. I can't.
Yeah, it's a tightrope.
One suggestion box, Nathan, if you want to, I'm sure you have a lot of volunteers trying to help you out. If you're trying to get people like Peterson, if you wrote up a nice debate invitation to present to these people, where, when, how it's done, how you do it, what they can expect, kind of thing, in your own words, just an official invitation to calibers like Peterson and above, to make it maybe as enticing as professional looking as possible.
Sounds good, Roto. Get to work on that.
Yeah, right. I'd be more than happy to look up some emails for these people for you, though, Nathan, and help you get the word around. Say it.
Cool. Absolutely great.
Hold on.
Nathan is not. Hold on. Nathan's not going to say no to somebody doing the work.
This is sort of like somebody debating with a Scientologist about Scientology who's not a Scientologist and knows Scientology better than the Scientologist, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't mean to answer for you, but yes.
So to the other Scientologist, wouldn't it be annoying that the non-Scientologist knew Scientology better than the Scientologist?
Yes. But for the guy who's trying, like in this example, Peterson, to carve out a nook in an algorithm, the people who are around him that have already carved out their nook, they're not going to, he's their competitor. He's the other chip shop. So are they going to want to educate him so he can better position himself? Now, we're quite altruistic here in this community. So you've got examples like, perfect example, Flatzoid, right? Is Flatzoid a competitor? Absolutely. If you want to ball us in that category algorithmically, he's competing with the show. Why does this show exist? Because we all supported and crowdfunded him to have a show to compete with us. Isn't that weird? No. No, show the love. The subject matter's got plenty of room for everybody. The Earth's always going to be flat. The fact that there's other YouTubers covering it in the best possible way only works to our advantage. He shouts me out all the time, and he's building an audience. And he will build other external viewers that aren't privy to this information when he shouts me out. So there's a mutually exclusive benefit to helping him, even though he, Flatzoid in this example, can be seen as a competitor. Can't he? Well, the Globers, I know enough Globers to know what they're like. Selfish, arrogant pricks. Do you think Simon Dunn's going to want to take time out of his day to help push Planet Peterson up the algorithmic chain, potentially toppling him off his own pedestal? No, absolutely not.
And that's the difference between them and us.
Wait a second,
Flat Side also said how he was on the panel at one time. So not only shouts you out, he still considers himself a panel member.
Yeah.
Wait a second, guys. Can you hear me? Mic check.
Yes, Mush.
There's a Elder Bear. He's in the voice chat too. He's claiming the Earth is not measured flat. He said the GP comes from the almanac. The Earth is not measured flat. Simple.
How did it get there?
And he's also saying that I don't know what he's referring to. He said, Brian said it's a category error, a descriptor versus measurement. Nathan said he would have to concede if it came to it, but just say it anyhow. So no measurement, no measured flat. The GP is not the whole ground. It's one position, if it's there at all, with question marks.
There's an
So
area of
Elder Bear,
equal,
you here? You
areas
wanna...
of equal altitude, right, with respect to a ground position. So if it's only in a book, why is it called a ground position?
Hold on a second.
Tell us.
Is Elder Bear claiming that the reference is not part of the measurement? Because that was where I stopped Brian at.
Why don't we ask him, bro? He can unmute and talk. He's right here. Elder Bear.
Is the reference, that's a horizontal plane of reference, part of the measurement. Gone.
He says, keep saying ground. It doesn't make it the horizontal.
The ground is the ground.
You don't have a measurement without the reference being included in it. So when you talk about height above what? Yeah, you're including the ground. I don't feel like explaining this to people that just want to argue. It's not up for debate. It's part of the measurement.
Yeah, we went through this like 2 days ago. The guy was like, it's not the ground. We're like, horizontal plane of reference, you say. Yes. What does reference mean? Or something you can measure. Yeah, that's the ground. We're dealing with the ground. We're navigating the ground, and we're getting ground positions on the ground when we measure stars with respect to a horizontal baseline. That's reference. A horizontal plane of reference. That's a plane we reference. A plane. Flat Earth. That's what's being measured. But it's not the ground. That's his argument. We've had it twice with him. So now he's deciding to do it from the peanut gallery in the comments rather than come off mute. Okay. We've already had the argument with him twice.
Yeah. Don't waste your time with these guys.
What they keep trying to do is remove the reference from the conceptual unit and then claim that it's only a point on a vertical datum. Well, you don't have a measurement then. You have a two-dimensional line and nothing else. That's not a measurement. Shut up.
Yeah, that's the end of that discussion. This whole shilling for measurements of the ground and not the ground is crap. It's a last-ditch attempt from a group of people that have taken measurements with respect to a plane of reference to detail how high or low they are with respect to a plane of reference to say that we're not measuring Earth flat. That's the whole shtick. Then we come along and go, yeah, it's all flat with elevation angle measurements, though. It's all with respect to the same horizontal plane of reference that you measure. It's all flat. It's all the same reference. Earth's flat. As far as celestial navigation concerned, there is no elevation changes. None. What's that? What about the elevation changes? There aren't any. What did we get when we got to that point in the discussion with him last time? Load of rumpusing. There aren't any elevation changes. But that's what you've lent on your argument for Earth not measured flat up until now when you referenced horizontal planes of reference to say how high or low things were with respect to it. Oh, but that makes it not flat. Yeah, maybe in your argument, because you're measuring how not flat it is with respect to flat. Wonderful. Nice confusing argument for a load of followers to give bed money over. Meanwhile, celestial navigation, how the Earth's been charted, as opposed to the bits we've already charted and figured out where they are and discovered, yeah, then we start building on them after we discover them. But in terms of navigating and mapping and charting the world, it's all been done flat. What do you mean elevation changes? Horizontal plane of reference that we measure. That's it. That's what we need for the angles to the stars. That's what we use to map and chart it, all flat. This argument's garbage. Might just about work for idiots when you're talking about building. But that's all it works for.
Especially when you say that the height of a topology with respect to the reference plane is not. How are you not getting that Earth is flat and you're measuring the topology against that overall flatness makes Earth flat?
Say that again, John. Say that from the beginning again.
When you're measuring topology against how flat overall it is, the mean sea level, and you're measuring the height of the topology with reference to that mean sea level. That is part of your measurement. You are measuring Earth flat, and you're measuring the topology against that. Stop talking, Elder Bear, and go back to school.
Go back to Bev.
Perfect. Perfect.
Go back to Bev so you can convince yourself it's not flat because you reference how not flat it is against how flat it is. Yeah, we will get a bit of pushback initially from people who don't like the fact that Earth's referenced flat, measured flat, negotiated, mapped, charted flat. They don't like that. Why? Well, because when we build stuff, we reference how high or low the topology is against how flat it is. Therefore, it's not flat. Okay, you keep that up. You know, great. I'm sure people will stick with that for another couple of years, maybe, before they realise how idiotic it is. Try telling it the Globo who came here and gave us some of these diagrams. Yeah? Well, when they're describing to us how they measure some of the topology in land with elevation angle measurements, even they describe the run as flat. So when we're describing rise over run, what are we doing? We're describing how Earth is measured flat. Oh, right, but we've got a difference in topology on the flat that it's being referenced to, therefore it's not flat, is their argument. It's crap. It's weak.
Yeah. If Earth wasn't flat, rise over run would not work.
Yeah, basically. That's what they're arguing for. More power to you. If you can encapsulate some dumbos with that argument, then more power to you. Some people aren't that smart.
Well, it's geometrically illiterate to state that. But the people that are proposing it are claiming geometry is truth. And that has to be the most irritating thing I've ever heard in my life. It is the
That's the sorry, John. That's the confusing part to me also.
It's geometric carry as opposed to geometrically wrong or fallacious in any way. I will use the sharp edge of flatness to show how flat it isn't. What?
So all zeniths are parallel and all horizontals are parallel. Isn't that game over right there?
Perpendicular.
No, I mean zeniths, all zeniths across the earth are parallel to each other.
Yeah, that's true
and all
too.
horizontal.
Yeah, that is true too.
Right. Game over right there.
Yeah, we had this argument with Anthony yesterday for over an hour. But Anthony's new to the subject, so he'll get on board as soon as the penny drops.
Well, Anthony was having a little bit different of an argument. He was trying to accuse, he was saying it was us, but ipso facto blaming celestial navigators for reifying the horizon with the fallacy of misplaced concretism to establish the horizontal plane of reference. That was fallacious, therefore they weren't navigating.
Yeah,
was his argument.
That's essentially a denial of the use of sextants at sea. That's what Anthony's doing, right?
Yeah. I was trying to explain it. He didn't want to hear it, though. But I like Anthony. I was hoping he'd be in here today. But
never mind. We toddle along to 24/7 Discord tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely, man. Sounds like a good idea. I think Paul's mentioned he already talked to India.
Yeah, I saw that back and forth. As soon as I saw that back and forth with India, I'm like, okay, so India's keen to have us using 24/7. So, us piling in unexpectedly because I don't really know what I'm doing when I click the buttons. It'll be a repeat of what happened with Earth Awakenings. In other words, you'll be aware that we're about to toddle along. But yeah, okay. Well, tomorrow we'll go in 24/7 Discord.
Sounds good, bro. We're ready.
Awesome. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the Ko-Fi and share button, links to the Patreon and members and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!